is King Crimson's In the Court of the Crimson King, the best progressive rock album of all time. That's what we're talking about today. This album is celebrating 55 years, and King Crimson redefined rock music with this album because they blended rock, jazz, classical, symphonic elements. And in the end, the album was pretty groundbreaking. It was very popular. It topped the charts. It hit number 5 in the UK and 28 in the US. And it is considered one of the most influential progressive rock albums of all time. And I'm going to be talking about that throughout this video. I'm going to be talking about like a lot of history, when they got their big break opening for the Rolling Stones. There's some tragedy with the album cover. There's a lot going on, and I'm going to go track by track. And I'm just going to like really dissect these songs. There's only 5 songs, but I'm going to go through all of it. So that is it. Let's get right into it. So basically, they were kind of unknown. It's a progressive rock band, but their big break was opening for the Rolling Stones in Hyde Park. That was when they played to the biggest crowd. You got the Rolling Stones, everyone knows them, they're expecting this rock music, and then comes this progressive rock band, and they're doing all this like weird stuff. And that was something that really brought them into the mainstream. Now, as for the album cover, one of the best album covers of all time. It's very iconic, and the guy who created it, his name was Barry Godber. He was a painter and a musician, and this was the only album cover that he ever painted. Basically, he used himself as a model. He looked at himself in the mirror when he did that face, and this was his only album cover that he ever did because he passed away like right after the album's release. So this album cover is very iconic because it's really the only one that he ever got a chance to paint. So it's kind of a sad backstory, but the album cover is iconic. So this album has been reissued several times. There have been remixes by Steven Wilson, and there have been like many variations of this album. The first thing I want to talk about is 21st Century Schizoid Man. This song is kind of like a metal song. It's, I guess, proto-metal. It's 1969. This is like before Black Sabbath. And it's metal in the fact that it doesn't have the heavy distorted guitars, but the main guitar riff and just the almost like the anger behind it, the distorted vocals, that kind of makes it a metal song. It's been covered by metal artists. Ozzy Osbourne did it for his covers album, and Voivod at one point in their career. I discovered the song playing Guitar Hero 5 on the PlayStation 2. I was really into that game many years ago, and it's just a fun game. So this song I know like very well because I've listened to it so many times because I used to play Guitar Hero all the time. So let me get into more of the details with the song. So the lyrics were written by Peter Sinfield, and the lyrics consist of these disconnected phrases, and they form a series of images in this fixed pattern. So they're kind of like very like short lines that are said, and each verse follows a structure. So the first line is like 2 short phrases, then the second line is a single more specific image, the third line is a longer phrase or a full sentence, and the fourth line is the song's title. So, for example, a lot of this is criticizing the Vietnam War. So a lot of lyrics such as politician's funeral pyre, innocence, I'm not going to say that word, but it's an R word with napalm fire. Death seed refers to a harvest of bad things caused by Agent Orange. Then the phrase cat's foot, iron claw. And that's going back to this French fable called The Monkey and the Cat. So this was a very political song. This is before Black Sabbath, before War Pigs. You're probably thinking, what I'm talking about, I'm talking about either War Pigs or a Black Sabbath song. No, this is before that. There was even one instance on December 14, 1969. Robert Fripp sarcastically dedicated the song to then Vice President Spiro Agnew. So there's some history with this. So I like the song for a few reasons. The horns kind of sound like they're playing a heavy metal guitar riff. The vocals, they sound dark and evil. The drumming is fast. There's lots of different instruments used. And there's a part in the middle that sounds like freeform jazz. So now for the second song, I Talk to the Wind. This is just a complete change of pace, because 21st Century Schizoid Man, like I was saying, heavy proto-metal. This is just relaxing, mellow, almost kind of like a very serene, simple, very peaceful type of song. So this song has Ian MacDonald playing the flute. That's probably the main instrument in the song. And he plays a classical-inspired solo in the middle of the song. That's actually referred to as the C section, which is kind of weird title, but that's what it's called. And he also performs a longer solo at the song's end, which is part of the coda, if you know music theory, which I don't really know that well. There are some demo versions. There's an early version that appears on the out-of-print LP, which is called A Young Person's Guide to King Crimson. And this demo features Robert Fripp, Peter Giles, Michael Giles, Ian MacDonald, and Judy Dybel on vocals. And this version had a more up-tempo feel with lighter instrumentation compared to the album version. So there were some original demos of the song recorded in 1968 by another group called Giles, and Fripp. The song was not included on that particular band's album until the Bronsbury tapes in 1968, which was released on CD in 2002. And the Bronsbury tapes includes two versions of I Talk to the Wind. One version features vocals by Judy Dybel. Another version features vocals by Peter Giles. So what do I like about the song? It's a very soft 70s radio-friendly song. It doesn't really have the complexity or progressive nature of the other tracks. So you listen to the first song and it's like all intense, and then you just sit back and relax and listen to the second song. And this one has lots of different instruments used, like the bass guitar, the piano, and the flute. And the next song is Epitaph. There's one instrument that is the star of the song, and that is the Mellotron. So you can see in the picture right here, this is what a Mellotron is. And the lyrics are similar to 21st Century Schizoid Man because they have this dystopian tone, and they're presented as a protest against the Cold War. So this title was very influential because the album's title was used for a live album of recordings by the original King Crimson called Epitaph. But here's some more trivia. Epitaph Records, the record label, actually took their name from the song. So it's definitely a very influential song. And it has been used by different artists. So one of them, you're not going to believe, it's somebody who's like completely unexpected. The first one is Emerson, Lake and Parker, and they incorporate an excerpt of the song after the battlefield portion of the live version of their track Tarkus, as heard on the album Welcome Back, My Friends, The Show Never Ends, Ladies and Gentlemen. But here's one you wouldn't expect. There's a rapper whose name is Cage, and he released a song called Stripes, and he actually sampled Epitaph. And he put it on his album, I think it's called Hell's Return or whatever it's called. I have it on the screen here. So you have this like rapper from the 2000s sampling King Crimson. So as you can see, this band has a lot of influence. Now, what do I like about the song? It's a big and epic ballad. It's another softer song, but it's a little more proggy, I guess. The bass guitar is very prominent. So if you put on your headphones, you can just listen to the bass. I really like that. I like the acoustic guitars, the folk rock aspect of it, and this has the balance between the big orchestral sounds and the soft acoustics, so that's why I like it. So next is a song called Moonchild. This is the first song on the second side of the album if you have the LP. So this one has different structures. The first section is called The Dream, which is a Mellotron-driven ballad. Then after about 2.5 minutes, the song transitions into this free-form instrumental improvisation called The Illusion. Then during this section, Robert Fripp briefly plays a snippet from The Surrey with the Fringe on the top from Oklahoma, which is a famous Rodgers and Hammerstein play. This song was remixed in 2009. So Stephen Wilson and Robert Fripp did the remix. And they removed like about 2.5 minutes of the song, of the improvisation part. And they also removed that Oklahoma part. And the original version is included as a bonus track on this particular release. I'm talking about the 2009 remix. Now, there's some really great drumming on this. The whole album has great drumming. It's a really great album. If you like drums, if you're a drummer, listen to this album because it's really great. But the drumming of Michael Giles is very unique because he does these like cymbal rides, and the critics really love that. And the critics also called this like a space jam. So definitely focus on the drumming if you're into drumming. The critics really like the song. Mike Barnes notes in his book, A New Day Yesterday, that a quarter of In the Court of Crimson King is dedicated to like free improvisation, and Moonchild is often overlooked in reviews, but Barnes highlights its beauty and adventurous spirit. And the track is not universally appreciated, but it did push the boundaries of British rock at the time. And he compared it to the Beatles' Revolution 9. So it's one of those tracks, it's a little out there, it's avant-garde, it's kind of experimental, it's trippy, it's not a typical type of song structure, but it's just very influential. The final track is The Court of the Crimson King. So this one has a distinctive repeated 4-bar riff, and this is also played on the Mellotron. And the song is divided into 4 stanzas with the instrumental sections separating them. And one instrumental section is called The Return of the Fire Witch. And then the song climaxes at the 7-minute mark, continues with an instrumental interlude called The Dance of the Puppets, and ends with the main reprise of the main theme. In other words, it's a very big and epic song with like lots of different sections and such. So the music was composed by Ian MacDonald, and the lyrics were written by Peter Sinfield. As for the critics, Cashbox highlighted the song's unusual lyric imagery and instrumental impact, and he compared it to the hypnotic quality of Hey Jude. And Record World described the track as a heavy hard rock item with classy jazz overtones. Now, what do I like about it? It's big, it's epic. The first part is folk music, there's vocal harmonies, the complex drumming, the soft flute playing. It basically has like a little bit of everything. Even at the 7-minute mark, it gets silent, and then they do that Dance of the Puppets theme with the flutes and the classical music. So it's one of those songs that basically just has like a little bit of everything, as opposed to like the whole album where the first song was very intense, and then it had some like mellow stuff and some spacey stuff, some dramatic stuff, and this song pretty much brings it all together. Kind of new to King Crimson. I was familiar with the 21st Schizoid Man song, like I was saying before, with the guitar here, but I never really did like deep dives into her album. I recently did a review of Red, and I posed the question, was it the first progressive metal album? I'm going to stick that right there for you to watch next, because I do a deep dive into that song. I am like listening to these King Crimson albums kind of as a newcomer, so you can keep that in mind as you watch these videos. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. And always remember, in the court of the Crimson King, nothing he's got, he really needs.